Recently, we were asked if there's a way to render out the interpositions of a multi-body object or vehicle object. Now, normally you can show or display the vehicle objects at various interpositions by just going to the vehicle's interposition menu and then pressing step, and then you can choose to show the various interpositions either as a function of distance or as a function of time. If you don't use a step feature, then the interpositions are going to be visualized with the gray bounding boxes. No matter which option you use, however, you will not see these shapes drawn out in direct light or skylight mode. For multi-bodies, you can only visualize the gray bounding boxes for the hyperellipsoids that make up the multi-body objects. But using the dynamics info, you can actually have Virtual Crash draw out vehicles, multi-bodies, and other objects as functions of time, and those will actually render in direct light and skylight mode, and those make for some pretty nice visual aids, as we can see here. That's what this video will review. So to start, we've simulated a pretty straightforward pedestrian impact where our vehicle interacts with the multi-body object. And what we want to do to make the process a little bit easier is to first freeze our vehicle, or you can hide it. And we want to make sure that the interposition bounding boxes are visible for the multi-body object, which you can see here. Now we're going to go to Create, Helpers 2D, and Dynamics Info, and hover the mouse over the multi-body object, and then we can just start clicking at various positions along its trajectory. We're not going to worry too much about the placement because we're going to fine-tune the time at which these dynamics infos are going to be placed, dynamics info objects. And we can see the dynamics info is a static object, and it'll display the time, the velocity data, and the total distance traveled for the multi-body object or vehicles if we use the dynamics info tool for vehicles. Now we're going to highlight all of the objects that we just made, and we're going to change some of their common properties in the miscellaneous menu. So we'll set this size to 0, and we'll set the transparency for the background color all the way to 0 or to fully transparent, and the same goes for the lines associated with the dynamics info tool. Now you should see all those boxes gone, and now we're going to enable the most important feature here of the dynamics info object, which is the show target feature. And as soon as we left click on this, now we'll see our multi-body object appear at the various positions in time and in space. Now what we want to do is go one by one through our dynamics info objects and set the times at which we want to display the multi-body. So we'll start at 0 seconds for the first one, and then we're just going to increment in we're going to go by 1/10 second increments, increasing in time. So now we've skipped ahead, and we went and we inserted the time parameters, again starting with the first dynamics info object and putting 0 seconds, and then 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, and so on. We also put in a few more dynamics objects, and then finally for the last one we just used the time slider and slid it all the way up to make sure that we capture the position of the final point of rest for our multi-body. And now we can turn off the, if we wanted to, we could turn off the show interpositions feature for the multi-body object, since we don't really need to see the bounding boxes anymore. We're actually seeing the drawn multi-body object, the fully drawn multi-body object. And then of course if we render in skylight or direct light, we'll see that the multi-body object is going to show up for each of those moments in time corresponding to the inputs to the dynamics info object. And of course this feature can be used for vehicles or other objects as well, and it's a great way to make top-down orthographic view scale diagrams at their highest possible quality by rendering out the objects in direct light or skylight mode. And of course, as you update the inputs to the simulation model, virtual crash will refresh the results in real time, just like you would expect, and the dynamics info objects will continue to refresh and show you the new ways that the objects will move in response to the changing conditions to the simulation model. Don't forget to press like for our video, and of course, subscribe to our channel.
Virtual crash